I really don't understand why the Kamala Harris campaign won't even do the bare minimum to persuade Arab American voters. I understand it. They hate you. They hate you. They hate me. They just don't want us to be in the party coalition. They don't want us to even be maybe inside of U.S. borders. We're just like spoilers in their eyes, you know? All right. We're not gonna start with the.
All right.
We're not gonna start with Israel Palestine today. We're gonna start with some incomprehensible and utterly idiotic moves coming from the Kamala Harris campaign once again, as I suspect everyone in the chat that are not being paid by the DNC but act like they are to defend their idiotic actions in here will come in to tell me how brilliant of a strategic move this is.
The special guests of the vice president's campaign event in Wisconsin today.
Here's why this shit's funny, okay? Everybody laughs when Donald Trump has RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. Like, liberals love laughing at Donald Trump's like futile attempts of posturing alongside Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. To be like, I'm the unification candidate. Like, look at me. But then they think it's brilliant when Kamala Harris does the same thing in reverse with Liz Cheney. Like, it makes no dang sense. These are people with zero real constituencies. I go so far as to say RFK Jr. has a bigger constituency and more voters than Liz Cheney does. Okay.
Republican former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who will appear alongside Vice President Harris in a city that's home to the birthplace of the GOP. CBS News campaign reporter Aaron Navarro is in Ripon, Wisconsin, following the vice president's campaign for us. So, Aaron, it's not surprising that Liz Cheney is appearing with the vice president. The former lawmaker has said she's voting for Vice President Harris. Even her dad, Cheney, who, I mean, I don't know.
Miss once, dog. Damn, I never miss. I don't miss.
No, you might not have been around, at least not following politics during the Cheney era, Aaron. But for folks like myself who watched the sort of power that Cheney amassed as a vice president under George W. Bush as president, and how conservative he was going back to the Nixon administration, it's sort of really interesting where the Cheneys are today. So I guess the question becomes, what is the message the vice president is trying to convey to her supporters by having two arch conservatives who up until recently would have been political opponents of hers?
Vlad, good to be with you outside this event in Ripon College. It's a signal and a message that the Democrats have a wide coalition. And as you mentioned, it's a bit of a striking political moment. Harris coming to the birthplace of the Republican Party, the Little White Schoolhouse here in Ripon, Wisconsin, where that party was formed. Senior campaign officials say she will address the creation of that Republican Party as she argues that Trump no longer represents traditional moderate conservatives. These are the voters she's looking to appeal to. And for the Cheneys, for the Adam Kinzingers, Republicans that have campaigned for Harris and don't really have that much in common in terms of policy, they all cite democracy and January 6th as a reason that they're here and campaigning for Harris and not voting for former President Trump.
And talk to us about the significance of the campaign's event's location, Aaron. We sort of teased it a little bit in the introduction as being the birthplace of the Grand Ole Party.
In 1854, party members from the Democratic Party, the Whig Party, came to the Little White Schoolhouse here in Ripon, Wisconsin, and created the Republican Party. And they chose this location to debut the first event, really, with Liz Cheney and Harris on the same stage. So it's a signal that they are paying attention to the roots of the Republican Party, and Harris is expected to address that during her remarks today.
All right, Aaron Navarro for us. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
In 2016.
How was it balling with Nicewig? Incredible. I love Nicewig. He's my goat. Yeah, like I'm saying, Love to the Kamala campaign is doing an event with this person, Liz Cheney. Liberals love laughing at Trump when he brings up Tulsi Gabbard on stage like she's going to siphon votes from Dems, but then we'll claim this move by the campaign is brilliant in the same, as brilliant in the same breath. But we'll declare this move by their own campaign as brilliant in the same breath. Ay, ay, ay. It's just like, this is what she said, by the way. Kamala Harris is a radical liberal who would raise taxes, take away health insurance, and explode the size and power of the federal government. She wants to recreate America in the image of what's happening on the streets of Portland and Seattle. We won't give her a chance. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, what the f going on here? Why do you ever want to be associated with a freak like Liz Cheney or Cheney? It doesn't make any sense to me. I just, why don't more Democrats feel like I do? You know, I just don't get it. Why don't more Democrats go, what the f are you doing, Kamala Harris? Like, we don't like these people. I swear to God, the Democratic Party, liberals in general, just don't give it. They just want their team to win. They just want their team to win. They think that this is a successful strategy. They don't really care if it's just like repackaged Republican Party attitudes, repackaged Republican Party heroes. Well, Liz Cheney's not even a hero of the Republican Party. You're not a Democrat? Yeah, the reason why I'm not a Democrat is because the Democrats are not behaving like the counterbalance, the counterweight towards right-wing radicalism in this country. If they were, if they operated like a Labor Party, if they operated like a party that actually cared about, I don't know, preserving American democracy, preserving people's civil liberties, and fighting for it tooth and nail, I'd be a proud Democrat. I'd be a loud and proud Democrat. They're just not. Do you understand? That's my issue. I don't give a I know that there's a stink associated with, like, you know, taking ownership over that sort of thing, but I don't personally care. I have no issue. I would have no issue saying, oh man, like if the Democratic Party was reshaped in the Bernie Sanders image, I would be screaming from the rooftop. I'd be blue MAGA. I'd be blue no matter who is. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch the Democrats like basically repackage Republican Party policies from 4 years ago and say and try to hail it as a celebratory, brilliant tactical move, a move that deserves praise, a move that deserves celebration. All right, bye. This is going around on Twitter, and it's the whole left is not voting for Harris makes them ignore talking point again. You know what's really funny about this idiotic talking point that's going around on Twitter? Republicans vote for Republicans. Kamala Harris is desperately trying to get Republican votes. She's courting Republican votes with no assurances that they will vote for the Dems anyway. So if the Democrats cared about like winning, okay, they would be courting the progressive left instead of taking their vote for granted and then telling them to shut the f up. Their strategy for courting the progressive base, or not even just the progressive base, but just like a broader base of support that they could technically create, a broader base of allegiance of all the couch voters, the people that stay at home, is simply offering them things that improve their lives. But they refuse to do that. And their strategy for the quote unquote left, like high propensity voters in general, is basically just like bullying them and then saying like, oh, you just want to, you know, you just want fascism to thrive, I think. By the way, this isn't a new indictment. It's a motion that was unsealed that corresponded to the previous indictment. No, I know that. It's basically the technically it is the new indictment, I guess, because like they had to cut out some of the parts because of the Supreme Court decision that said presidents can do whatever they want, suck my. So they had to like restructure some of the some aspects of the indictment as a private citizen campaigner versus Donald Trump, the president. I run into so many drooling, ignorant normies who are at least on the front, dumb, medium voters. She's listening to the Clinton campaign strategist, so of course she's bullying the progressive left. Yeah, it's just stupid. Whenever you're embracing accelerationism, brother, the funniest part about this is that like vote for a Democrat and accelerationism is still happening. You know what I mean? Like the difference between voting for a Democrat and voting for a Republican is that you're voting for a stay of execution, I guess. She's targeting the next Trump for their vote. So dumb. Excuse me. Like, we're just bouldering towards the right regardless of whether or not a Democrat's in charge, you know? Bro, I'm actually running out of my zins, dude. This is not good. The fun never ends. Yeah. Why take advice from campaign managers that lost the election? You don't understand. There's a concept called like being a graceful loser, and it's heavily rewarded in the Democratic Party circles. So even if you lose with grace, then we'll elevate you. You know what I mean? I'm a Zinfidel. Democrats love posting, putting up losers in positions of power. They don't care. Stop saying she will lose. I didn't think so. But I don't know, man. I think this Israel. I think not restraining Israel might be her downfall. Okay. I'm not kidding. Like right now, the only thing that they can rely on is the Trump campaign being dogged at communicating. But that JD Vance performance that we watched the other night, if they are able to play ball like that, if they are able to at least like somehow moderate their messaging, they're going to have a not so bad time. Okay. I asked my Republican coworker today what he thinks about Kamala now that she's moving to the right. Can you guess what he said? She's a goddamn commie who slept around to get her job, and I hate her, and Donald Trump's going to save this country. She's also a Haitian migrant. Did I nail it? Democrats are no longer liberals. They are Marxists. Yep. Oh, man, that's shocking. That's shocking that your Republican coworker is still a Republican. 110% agree, especially with direct quote. Yep. I'm from PA, and some people I know are either not voting at all or not voting for her law. I live right outside of Philly and I haven't seen one campaigner who's not winning it, bro. Are there any creators for Kamala that are publicly opposed to the move to the right? No, why would they be? They're creators for Kamala. I think the role that a lot of TikTokers play is to just like try and look, I'm not going to immediately claim that every single person is a cynical tactician here. I think there are probably some young voters, and this is their first go. We've all been there. You want to believe that the Democratic Party has your best interest in mind, even though they communicate that they definitely do not, right? So I suspect that there are probably some, TikTokers out there who are like still riding with Kamala, still trying to do Brett Summer memes, and maybe there is a genuine intent behind that. Maybe it's not so cynical. And there are plenty of others who are cynically doing that because that's all they know. That's all they know in terms of like developing a brand for themselves. Like latching on to a popular momentum or a popular movement is a relatively successful way to build a brand for yourself. And that's what they're doing. For me, being a Bernie bro certainly helped my career early on. The difference, however, is that I was genuine. You know what I mean? I genuinely was a Bernie bro. He happened to align with my beliefs. Does that make sense? Which is precisely the reason why I have not, stopped advocating for the things that I've been advocating for before Bernie and after Bernie, right? And even at times find myself at odds with Bernie. Your cynical viewpoint with the size of your audience means that Trump is more likely to win. Good luck with that, bro. Yes, dude, you're right. I'm at fault. I'm the reason why Kamala Harris is going to lose, even though I say Kamala Harris is still has a likelihood of winning. It's just it's getting worse and worse every day, in my opinion. This idea that like I'm so powerful single-handedly is a really stupid idea, because let's be real, if that's true, if I have hundreds of thousands of voters at my command in key swing states, then Kamala Harris is the dumbest person on the planet not to literally knock on my door specifically to be like, how can we get your army of votes to go out and vote for Kamala Harris? How can we do that? Please. Because like, that's how it works, right? That's how it works. If you got hundreds of thousands of people, right? If you legitimately believe that, which by the way, I don't think I have the capacity to swing an election. You are delusional if you think that. And I don't even think you believe that genuinely. You are just like already gearing up for a potential Kamala Harris loss so that you can find someone to point the finger of blame at. Because God forbid you actually point that finger of blame at the campaign itself. That's it. That's all you're doing. You have a very real fear in your heart. Your audience size is massive. It will depress the vote. Okay, once again, thank you for saying my audience size is massive. You should say that not to me, but instead to Kamala Harris if you think that I'm a key to winning the election. Except one of the funniest aspects to this is that there is a massive audience of people that are definitely more likely to vote for the Democratic Party if Kamala Harris and the Biden administration do something that is objectively popular, which is force Israel to concede and stop people. Every day, the number of people that are victims of Israeli grows. Their family members live in the United States of America, and their anger is not only understandable, but also growing by the moment. Instead of trying to hyper target like Liz Cheney's 8 friends that are in the tank for Kamala, she should perhaps focus on winning the election by changing the trajectory of American foreign policy and our undying loyalty and support to the apartheid regime of Israel that is currently conducting it, and also slated to have, like, by the estimations of Foundation for Defending Democracy guy yesterday, a 7 front. That's what he said. That's it. Yeah, I have incredible sway. That's why Bernie Sanders is the president right now. This is his 2nd term ending. Just call for an arms embargo. Stop trying to do rep outreach is popular policy. Why fight a losing battle while ceding ground to the Republicans? They suck. And it's not going to work either. It's not a successful strategy. This is all the way back in June 5th, June 5 to June 7th. CBS poll, U.S. actions regarding Israel and Hamas. Sam supplies to Israel should not. 61%. 79% of liberals, 63% of moderates, 38%, almost at this point, it's like probably 50% of conservatives that are like, yeah, maybe we should dial back on the Israel shipments. You know? Nah. I really don't understand why the Kamala Harris campaign won't even do the bare minimum to persuade Arab American voters. I understand it. They hate you. They hate you. They hate me. They just don't want us to be in the party coalition. They don't want us to even be maybe inside of U.S. borders. We're just like spoilers in their eyes, you know? We're just spoiling the fun that Israel could be having in the region. Hasan, I'm sorry I called out Henry Daggett yesterday for making $900K a year. I listened to you and Felix talk about it on the Majority Report and I literally didn't realize how much profits the company was actually making, billions compared to $900K. So thanks for putting me in my place. After I researched more, I think Henry Daggett should make more money. Please accept my apology. I beg for forgiveness. I mean, look, Henry Daggett makes a good amount of money. And, you know, he's a little bit of an old school labor leader. Let's be real. Some good comes out of that because he's a real fighter, but some bad as well. Maybe a little, you know, he's doing all right. But remember, when people bring that up, and if you are a leftist and you're also bringing that up, you are playing the role of someone who is at odds with the strike. You are playing the role of someone who is now sitting against striking workers. Okay, that's the only reason why people do that. And you're doing it for free. And it's ironic because, like, not only are you a worker, but you're also personally in a leftist community as outright unacceptable. But having said that, you know, to me, it's yet another glaringly obvious example of the reality that of the reality of how far we are removed from class consciousness in this country, that we straight up do Wall Street Journal editorial style slander on a labor leader in a time when there is like a work stoppage happening, right? In an independent online leftist community, there's still who are behaving like Wall Street Journal editorial writers. That's crazy. That is how successful class has been on the side of capital owners. Democrats have proven that winning an election means less to them than the ability to consistently left bash the progressive coalition threatens to shift the status quo too much in a party where civility, gracefully losing, and toothless aesthetics reign supreme. Yeah, I just think it's uniparty, and they play that role, and they play that role well. It won't stop me from consistently pointing to stuff like this and being like, this is electorally beneficial, like changing the administration's outlook on Israel is not only the moral decision, but it's also the decision that is best for winning the election. That's it. During an interview with News Nation, Trump said he planned to strip the legal status of Haitian immigrants in Springfield. Yeah. No, they are going to do that. They want to reverse TPS on them and then deport them, which straight up is just, there's no other way to cut that. That's all it is. Forgetting about the decision to raise money for campaigns. What? Kamala Harris has gotten a tremendous amount of regular donations. You know that, right? I mean, she's gotten a ton from big donors too, but like a massive chunk of the purse that she's been able to create has come from individual donators. You think they're donating because they're like, I love Kamala Harris's policy on Israel? Is that what you think is going on? Like your neighbor second union, the firefighters union, first out the gate to endorse Joe Biden actually 5 years ago, makes the 2024 race. I don't know what the decision-making process is. Today, the IAFF executive board, by a margin of 1.2, voted to not endorse a candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Do you think Republicans are going to moderate on abortion will be effective this late in the game? It's the only thing Democrats have right now. No, but I mean, it's a way to it's a way to defend. It's basically a way to defend. It's a way to stop the hemorrhaging of female voters, like white women. But it's just not. There are going to be people who are dumb enough to believe this, just like there are people who are dumb enough to believe anything. It's more so a matter of like how high up in the priority chain it is for you to preserve your bodily autonomy. Let's take a look.
Set off.
Yeah, by the way, things are not looking too great for the Democratic Party. And it's gotten, as I said, if post DNC, I told you, if they literally cut away at the progressive momentum that they have and message to the middle, they are going to hemorrhage support. And that is precisely what is going on. That, alongside the lack of change in terms of America's foreign policy, which many people do care about, obviously it's not the top priority for a lot of Americans, but it is the top priority for a lot of Americans in key states, big constituencies, for understandable reasons. They will just cut away at their momentum when they go with drill baby drill at a time when massive amounts of atrocities are occurring due to anthropogenic climate change. If you're also doing the drill baby drill, you're literally losing out on a lot of young voters who do care about their future and don't want to live in a world where they can't breathe the air, or that they have to learn how to, I guess, live underwater. Anyway, here it is. Union households, the Democrat margin.
Data points that just jump off the screen should set off sirens. All right, this is union households. This is Democratic margin in presidential election. It ain't what it used to be. You know, you go back to 1992, Bill Clinton won that union vote by 30 points. Hillary Clinton only won it by 12 points back in 2016. That was the lowest mark for a Democrat since 1984, Mondale versus Reagan. But look at where Kamala Harris is.
There's not way to flip this. Look at Hillary, look at Kamala. It's pure misogyny. Or union voters also vote on the same basis that they're like the union voters also vote along the same exact material conditions that everybody else votes on. The reason why they went for Biden was because Biden launched a strong pro-labor, pro-union campaign. That's why they were able to pick up. Union votes were hemorrhaged because of this guy. Okay? That guy right there is the major reason why union votes and union support went down. Okay? NAFTA. Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, used that perfectly against Hillary Clinton by tying the same last name, if you recall, back in 2016. Joe Biden picked up the pieces again by putting up a strong front for labor unions and labor protections. Having said that, however, in the 4 years of his administration, union voters, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, still obviously respond to the economic shock of real negative, negative wages, like inflation eating away at their marginal amount of wage growth. So regardless of the pro-labor stance of the Joe Biden administration, labor union voters are still normal people who are like, well, the economy isn't doing too sweet, is it? If Kamala Harris doesn't make a bold and radical shift in her messaging strategy to directly respond to their interests and keep saying opportunity economy, opportunity economy, opportunity economy, we're going to give $50,000 in tax cuts to startups, and that's her economic policy, when she has some decent ones that she doesn't emphasize at all, you're obviously going to experience this kind of support hemorrhaging.
Today, she's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst.
Oh, also beyond that, yeah, I mean, union voters, just like everybody else, are not just like victims of their own material conditions, but they're also subject to reactionary propaganda. And yeah, misogyny plays a role too. Make no mistake. But let's dial it back for a second and talk about something that Kamala Harris has done very well. Kamala Harris, unlike Hillary Clinton, is not a white woman. She is a black woman. And as a black woman, she knew that if she was like, I'm a black woman, that's why you got to vote for me, in the same way that Hillary Clinton said, I'm a woman, that's why you're with her, that's why you're on Team Woman, she knew that that wasn't going to be a successful strategy, which is why she never did that. And I've always given her her roses for that reason, right? You can't get away with that because ain't nobody's on Team Black Woman. Let's be real. That's not going to be a successful way to reach out to voters. And it wasn't a successful way for Hillary Clinton to demonstrably reach out to voters either. But she, at least as a white woman, thought that it was a successful way to reach out to voters. She was wrong. I don't understand why she does not extend that way of clear thinking into other aspects of her campaigning strategy. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm saying. She has, like, obviously the recognition to not run with "I'm with her" as a successful campaign strategy. She's not doing that. Okay, so why not also offer something? Why not also offer something for people to vote for?
Democratic performance in a generation, 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who of course won 4 years ago.
I mean, Barack Obama also, as a black man, didn't do that. Like, there's a difference between going and talking to like black podcasters or going on black radio shows, black and brown radio shows, and talking about your background versus the national campaign and what you're putting forward. There was no like Barack Obama didn't do the vote for me. It's if you're pro-black, like, he didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Because black people know that America is a white supremacist nation. Okay, no matter how conservative a black person could be, they still know that that's not going to be a successful strategy. Okay,
Was sort of that union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark, and the worst in a generation if this, in fact, holds, Sarah.
It is interesting to note that the difference between this, and Biden still won.
Still won.
But those numbers are significantly down. All right, talk to me about manual labor, those folks who went to trade schools.
Yeah, those folks who use their hands. I think a lot of people oftentimes conflate the union vote with those who use their hands. Mike Rowe, of course, has been arguing more people should go to trade schools, more people should get a vocational degree. Look at this margin. This, to me, oh boy, does this tell you about the state of our politics now versus back in the early 1990s. Margin among vocational and trade school grads in pre-election polling. Bill Clinton was leading that vote over George H.W. Bush by 7 points. Look at where Donald Trump is today over Kamala Harris, a 31-point advantage. When I think people think of the working class, they...
Okay, another aspect of this also that you have to focus on is that if neither party is like adequately addressing and making a case for improving the material conditions of improving the material conditions of workers, like, they also have a litany of different issues that they care about, like, or I don't know, on gay people. The Republican Party does a decent job at the very least of like fighting for those things that people, I guess, care about. The Republican Party also lies, in my opinion, better than the Democratic Party does in terms of like how they're going to help the working class. They lie all the time when they say, oh, we're going to cut your taxes and that's going to somehow benefit you. But the reality is it works. And the Democrats don't respond to that by being like, hey, they're literally running your pockets, dumbass. They're running your pockets to give the richest people the biggest tax breaks, and you're voluntarily going along with it. They are afraid of how successful tax cuts are, so they run their own version of tax cuts. They just are nerdier, okay? Because like when you look at Kamala Harris's policies, like there aren't a lot of subsidies in there. It's mostly tax cuts for people who want to start their own podcast business. Like obviously vocational workers are not going to, trade school graduates are not going to be like, oh, dude, thank God there is a $50,000 tax cut for someone who wants to start their own goddamn small business. No, they look at the situation, they also have the capacity to be just as dumb as any of us. And they go, all right, well, I want my treats, and Trump is gonna, you know, give me my treats. He's also gonna own the libs.
They think of people who use their hands, and we know that Donald Trump has been going after that vote, and he is in a very, very strong position, more so perhaps than any other bloc. The folks who go to trade school, vocational school, that has moved from being a core Democratic group to now being a core group of.
Same thing happening with the Latino vote. Exactly. I actually disagree on that one. A lot of trade school grads or small business HVAC folks, that's what they care about. You're literally wrong on this. There was a poll that David Dayen brought up. Small businesses don't care about a $50,000 tax cut more so than they care about access to credit. So you're also objectively wrong on that as well. The $50,000 small business tax cut is literally for nobody. No, they don't care about the dumbass startup thing. They just care about small business focused stuff. Oh, you're saying they care about small businesses, like a small business focus. I used to work for a small HVAC company, and I can assure you he hates Kamala. Yeah.
Donald Trump's massive amount of support among the working class.
All right, let's move on to voters of color. And there's a very specific group that you looked at. And what are you saying, Gary?
Yeah, you know, we've been noting on this program, right, that Donald Trump seems to have been having some real impact among voters of color, getting into that traditional Democratic support. And I was very interested to see this because we're talking about the working class, right? So this is the margin among non-college graduates, all right, the voters of color. You go back 4 years ago, look at that. Joe Biden won that group by 45 points. Look at where Kamala Harris's support is today. She's still leading amongst that group, but that lead is down 17 points. And I will note that the margin among voters of color who actually graduate college has only been changed by 5 points. 5 points compared to 4 years ago. The reason Donald Trump is doing so well amongst voters of color is because he has really gone in and grabbed a lot of voters that he didn't previously have among those who didn't graduate college. And this is part of a larger trend that we're seeing throughout our politics era, in which Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, is doing very, very well among working class voters, whether they were in unions, whether they went to trade school, or whether they're voters of color. The fact is Donald Trump seems to have gone into a hotbed of traditional Democratic support and made a lot of movement in ways I don't think a lot of people would have thought when he went down that escalator just back in 2015.
All right, Harry Ensign, bringing us the numbers as they look right now. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Lol, stream something else. You're right. What are some Trump policies you align with? Absolutely nothing. I don't even align with the Democrats. Why the fuck would I align with the Republicans? I don't think people understand this. Like I don't align with the Democrats because of their closeness to the Republican Party. Why the fuck would I ever align with the Republicans? They're absolute ass. And it's ironic because technically from my tax bracket, if I was a selfish person who didn't care about the long-term stability of this country and improving everybody's lives in this country, then both parties are great for me. They're both going to deregulate. They're both going to push for tax cuts regardless. Okay? But I don't mind paying taxes. I think it's patriotic to do so. I pay European-style taxes, as a matter of fact, living in Los Angeles, California. The problem is, I hate that so much of that goes either to the military or to the domestic military force, the police. I wanted to go to actually fixing the goddamn roads. I wanted to go towards fixing our goddamn infrastructure. I wanted to go towards building public housing and combating homelessness that way. I wanted to go to education. I despise the way that we manage the funds that we generate in this goddamn country, but nothing changes. Anyway, if Kamala loses, who do the libs blame first? What do you mean, brother? You know who they blame first. They blame the left. They blame Russia, Iran, maybe, China. But most importantly, they blame the left.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States.
I cannot in good conscience endorse Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
John Bolton's like, he wouldn't let me nuke Iran. That's why I'm committed to the Democratic Party, who will let me nuke Iran.
And the nation's former highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is too big a risk for America.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
It's funny because, like, people that love Trump don't give a shit about any of this stuff. They just literally are voting for Trump because he just, like, sticks it to these people. It's a cult of personality built around this freak ass. All right, let's see what this is.
Served in Donald Trump's administration. But I know Kamala Harris is the leader we need to keep our country safe and strong. Throughout her career, she's gotten drug traffickers off the streets and protected vulnerable people from fraud. And as a Homeland Security expert, I trust her to protect the border. Kamala Harris's plan will strengthen our border security and crack down on drug smuggling and human trafficking. We need a president who's tough, who cares about the American people, and who puts the country first. That's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Like, I can't go to work and mess up something and then blame my staff. Like, who does that? Well, who does that? Donald Trump does that. I voted for Donald Trump, and I went to his inauguration in 2016. We tried it for 4 years. It just didn't work, and it's time to move on, or it's going to be more of the same, and the middle class is going to suffer. Take it from me. I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm still a Republican. Kamala's trying to help the American people, especially the American middle class. I think she's going to do a great job for people like me.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Now to the new court filing.
That's awesome. It's great. It's great. We should, yeah, I'm putting together a team, guys. It's literally every Republican that Donald Trump ritualistically humiliated for 4 years, you know, that represent 0% of the Republican Party's base of support. Anyway, is there ever a policy inside with the U.S. where the taxpayer can choose a percentage of where their taxes go? No. I don't even necessarily agree that that's a good idea anyway. Look how stupid Americans are, dog. What is this? Someone wanted me to look at this. Republicans for Harris are saying that no matter their policy disagreements, they can't let Trump win. A lot of leftists are saying that unless Harris aligns with them in specific ways, they will let Trump win, even though they disagree with him on everything. Yeah, except 1% is the base of support within the Democratic Party and represents a far larger number than the Republicans for Harris, okay? Whom do you expect normie Dem voters are going to listen to, agree with, and sympathize with more going forward, win or lose? How do you think? This is always backwards thinking. It's like the campaign won't listen to people who are trying to extract concessions from their elected representatives that they want to vote for. Yeah, this is dumb as it's always stupid. These people, this is the stupidest argument. It is undemocratic, okay? That is anti-democracy. What shows better leadership qualities than trying to win the votes of people who think she's evil and stupid? Let's break this down because yes, and there is more. First and foremost, if Trump wins, it's going to be because white voters continue to vote for him. The other side of the coin is that if there's a softening in our coalition, we lose. What does that mean? Time after time, we've shown in Georgia and elsewhere that Democrats win when we expand our coalition. Yes, that means we have to care about more issues, but the basic ask for voters in the coalition is we not hurt them. Then, from there, help make things better. Seems fair. In order to defeat the GOP, we have to turn out historically excluded groups that outnumber GOP voters. When our policies kill people's loved ones, we risk our ability to win because they leave our coalition. It doesn't mean they vote Trump. It simply means we have less votes. The GOP keeps their numbers the same, though. It's why Trump's polling doesn't move. For the GOP to win, they don't have to convince people to vote for them. Just convince enough people in our coalition to not vote for us. The easiest way for them to do that is Biden's inability to see Arabs as people and his establishment of displacement and massing of loved ones. This is so unpopular. It's why Biden's numbers cratered among black, brown, and young voters. When Harris became our nominee, our numbers among black, brown, and young voters up. The excitement was real. Then came the platforming of the GOP at the expense of those who have been in our coalition. Suddenly, the softening was back. Kamala Harris running a Joe Brandon-style campaign as a black woman is so utterly ridiculous. As soon as the swap out happened, what did I tell you? I said, if this doesn't go the way of an Obama 2008 coalition, they're cooked. Okay? She literally was like, oh, I'm going to campaign like I'm an old white man. And I'm going to repeat the same things that this old white man was saying. And it's hilarious because that old white man was already going to lose to Donald Trump. Sure, a big part of the reason why that old white man was going to lose Donald Trump was because his brain capacity was diminishing at a rapid clip, but also because he had unpopular policies that he was running with as well. Worst campaign choice ever by Kamala Harris. I know. 65% of voters wanted to change, or no, overwhelming majority, even larger than that, wanted to change from Joe Biden, okay, in the upcoming election, and only 25% of Democratic Party voters thought Kamala Harris represented a change from Joe Biden. If you don't understand that, like, that's what people are looking forward to, and you're not offering them that because you refuse to fucking part ways with the guy that was so bad that you are now running for president in his stead, I don't know what to tell you. You just refuse to see it. If the voters didn't want a ceasefire, why did the DNC lie so much about supporting a ceasefire? Exactly. The problem is the voters are not that stupid. Like, the median voter is pretty dumb, but they're not so dumb as to be like, man, my house is underwater right now. And I read somewhere on Instagram or Facebook a headline that shows the exact number of money that was supposed to go to FEMA went to Israel the day of my house being underwater. If I read that, I'm never voting for the Democrats ever again. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this? You know, people, like, I try to explain this to people all the time. Like, the median voter is dumb. Sure, it's a sea of contradictions. The American voter believes a bunch of things that are directly at odds with one another, right? Sure. But every single person, I like to think of every single person as like 5 major priorities, okay? Every single person in the United States of America has at least 5 priorities, okay? 1 through 5. You just got to look at what those priorities are, pick the top 3 or the top 5, all of them if you would wish to do so, and address a solution to their problems. The issue is we don't do that at all. We just choose to, you know, focus on some other dumb. I lost my state healthcare after Biden became president because I make too much money. I was on state healthcare under Trump, making the same amount of money, and I was never kicked off. I cannot afford healthcare. Something needs to be done. Some people shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, imagine how relief in North Carolina and other states is handled will be a big determinator on how those states swings. Yeah. It's crazy because, like, I'm not a believer in, like, divine intervention by any means. Okay. But if I was even remotely a believer in such a thing as a Democrat, okay, in a hypothetical scenario where I'm both a Democrat and a believer in divine intervention, I'd be looking around and going, what more do the Democrats want? Okay. Some of the news media priorities, like some of the most significant things that have led the news cycle over the past couple of months, have all been key Democratic Party issues that the Democrats have dropped the ball on. Mass even directed towards the president, okay? Like politically rhetoric and what kind of impact that might have. Natural disasters born out of climate change, okay? Republicans going even further right, so right that, like, people are grossed out by their anti-immigrant sentiment. These are all straight up deeply in the pocket of the Democratic, like the older Democratic Party. The death penalty, an innocent man being executed by the state, regardless of his innocence. A competent Democratic Party should look at all of this and go, do you see how up everything is? Why are, like, who do you think is responsible for it? And yet they're looking at all of this stuff that normally should be directly in their field of interest, things that they're supposed to be offering a solution on, and going, no, we're just going to do like the gayer version of what the Republicans are doing. Anyway, it includes everything from them hating war to money and politics after the primaries, to elected officials ignoring public opinion, and the advocacy groups we need to turn out voters are struggling both due to a dip in funding and because they care about this. They're anti-war, feel like their policies are being ignored, and their volunteers also feel the same. They turn out voters and volunteers. We need volunteers to turn out voters. Volunteers come from the coalition that cares about this. It's depressing efforts. Another thing that I've mentioned also, like the left progressive coalition within the base of the Democratic Party also is the most significant coalition within the base of the Democratic Party because they're the door knockers. They are the politically active. They are the ones who create grassroots operations, okay? And you just consistently yelling at them and telling them, shut the fuck up, hold your nose and vote for me is ripping apart an active base of support that you need to go out and turn out others. I really wish I could understand what the hell you're talking about. I normally agree with your stances, but I think you're wrong here. Kamala's economic platform is really strong. 50K tax credit, federal housing aid, and a clear plan on how to avoid the top of the hour ad break. Best policies, easy. I mean, Gray Name came in hot, defending Kamala Harris's policies, snuck that top of the hour ad break right in there. It's over. I'm handing over the keys, dude. I'm done. You cooked me. The 3-minute ad break is upon us, chat. This is true. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. I mean, there is no other way to look at it. Politics can be as complicated as you want to make it, okay? Or it can be as simple as you can comprehend. And if you became the presidential candidate in a historically weird election cycle due to the unpopularity of the guy you replaced at the top of the ticket, then perhaps you should do your very best to escape him. Running towards him is most likely going to be a somber reminder to people that you are just like the unpopular candidate. If he wasn't unpopular, you would not be running for president. You have to be an absolute dumbass not to recognize that reality. And here she is, appearing with Liz Cheney in Ripon, Wisconsin, the birthplace of the Republican Party. The Democratic presidential nominee plans to reach out to GOP and independent voters in her speech, repeating her vow to be a president for all Americans, her campaign says. This was a funny moment. Some personal news. Elon Musk followed me on X a couple years ago and has shared my work and has been willing to respond to my DMs about stories from time to time, including a back and forth we had for a story on the Secret Service last week. Earlier this week, when I respectfully approached him via DM about his Sunday claim that Biden-Harris was fast-tracking illegal immigrants to vote and provided information showing that confirmed it was not the case, Mr. Musk unfollowed me and blocked me from DMing him and said asking him for comment for a story via DM was inappropriate, despite him willing to engage in the past. We did reach out to one of his companies, but did not receive a response. Below is a link to our fact check on Mr. Musk's claims that Biden and Harris are flying migrants into the U.S. and expeditiously granting them citizenship. Buried lead. It's absolutely false, though we were unable to reach Mr. Musk for comment. Now, I need you to understand something here. The article is coming from the Washington Examiner. This is a right-wing publication. That is precisely the reason why Elon Musk had such easy access, or Anna Giaritelli, who is a writer at the Washington Examiner, had such easy access to Elon Musk. That is why this is unique. It is shocking. It is shocking that Elon Musk is so far right that he's like upset about the Washington Examiner journalist that he's friends with. I must repeat something here that I have talked about quite a bit. Back in the day, everyone made so much hay about Jack Dorsey and his suspected liberal allegiances and how much that played a role in the way that Twitter operated. Elon Musk does not hide that he is an insane far-right psychopath who is literally giving money to the Trump campaign. He has elevated Donald Trump after purchasing Twitter and utilized the entire platform that he owns. And yet, no such conversations ever take place, really. Like, if you think Jack Dorsey was doing election interference because of the Hunter Biden laptop story, then what the f is Elon Musk doing? It is crazy to me how far right the slant is in the media in terms of this kind of coverage. Okay? I find it really strange. Maris's first national poll for NPR. Harris leads 50% to 48 among likely voters, and she leads 50 to 47 among registered voters. This is Maris's first LV poll. Their poll 1 month ago had Harris up 49 to 48. While a lot of people will hold on to this and be like, well, dude, look, she's doing great. She's doing great. She's doing great. What you fail to recognize is that the polls should not be this unwilling to yield. Okay? They should not be this close. It is not good that they are close. And like I said, it should not be close at all. This is the first time also, remember, since Joe Biden, where Donald Trump is either this close or even in certain polls winning. Okay? Think about it. Massive war purse. They've been pumping ads in all of these states, and her edge over Donald Trump has not budged even a little bit. That means that the overarching messaging coming from the national campaign is not working. Will they change trajectory? Is it far too close to the actual election at this point? Is it already a lost cause? Who knows?